Today's lesson is frequency distribution. Now this is a table of frequency distribution. I think you are familiar with this table. You prepared these tables when you studied for your O-levels. Right? This is a frequency distribution table. And here these are the class intervals. Panti Prantara in Sinhala. And these are the tallies. And here the frequencies. Right? Now when you studied for your O-levels, you took the lowest class on the top. Right? The lowest class on the top. And the highest class at the bottom. But according to your syllabus, you are going to take the highest class on the top and the lowest class on the bottom. Right? Now these are the marks of a test given out of 15, and here we'll take a single value 8. This 8 should go in this class, in this column, right? Likewise, you can prepare the frequency distribution table. Now today we are going to discuss some terms that are related to this topic, right? Frequency distribution. The first one is the class. The class. A class. Now, a class is a group of or a collection of observations. In this case, now here there are 3 classes. 1, 2, 3. If we take this particular class, that is 10 to 40. So a class is a group or a collection of observations. Here the collection of marks. In this class, what are the marks you can find? 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14. Right? All these marks are included in this class 10 to 14. Right here. Now we'll take this class 5 to 9. Now what are the values or marks included here? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All these marks here 5, 9. All these marks are included in this class. So a class is a group of marks or a group of observations, right? Groups, classes, groups. There are 3 groups, there are 3 classes. Now the second one is class limits. Class limits. Right. We'll take the same example. 10. The example is 10 to 40. Okay. And in this class there are 2 limits, boundaries. Right. This one, we call this one as the lower limit. And this one as the upper limit. Lower limit, upper limit. The lower value, right? Podiya sinna mark and periya mark, right? Lokku. So in a class there are 2 limits, the lower limit and the upper limit. Then there's another category of limits, right? Row limits. Now row limits are these. In these you don't find any decimals, right? 0.5. And the other type is real limits. Actually, how you calculate these things are like this. You deduct 0.5 from the lower limit, that is 9.5, and you add 0.5 to the upper limit. So it is 14.5. Don't worry about these things. We'll do all the exercise relevant to this later, right? So when we consider the class limits, there are two types, lower limit and the upper limit. And also there are two types of limits, row limits, here no decimals, and real limits. Here you can find 0.5 and 0.5, right? So those are the class limits. Next one is the class size. Class size. Class size. The class size, now we'll take the class size for row limits, right? Row limits. So that is 10 to 14, same example. There's a formula for this one, row limits. Class size equals the upper limit. What's the upper limit? Upper limit minus lower limit. And you have to add 1 plus 1, right? Actually, the class size is the difference between the upper limit and the lower limit. But we add 1 also. I'll explain the reason for this later. Now we'll do the calculation. Now what is the upper limit of this class? It's 14. And what's the lower limit of this class? It's 10. Put the brackets. Always put the brackets. Plus 1. So here the calculation, here it's 4 plus 1. The answer is 5. Okay. Suppose you don't put the brackets. Now we'll take this one, 14 minus 10 plus 1. You don't put the brackets. But then you do this one first. 14 minus, what's that? 11. The answer is then 3. This is wrong. You'll have to put the brackets and do the brackets first. Right? You have to calculate the brackets first. This answer is correct. This is wrong. Always put the brackets and do them first. That's the class for, what is that? For row limits, right? Class size. And the class size for real limits. Real limits, we'll take the same 9.5 to 14.5. Okay. And the formula is class size equals upper limit minus lower limit. That's all. What's the upper limit here? 14.5. Minus, what's the lower limit? 9.5. The answer is 5. Okay. Don't do these things in your mind. Do the calculations here like this. 14.5 minus 9.5. 0. Here it is 5. Right? You tend to make mistakes if you don't do that. So that's the class size. Right? The class size for row limit, the formula is upper limit minus lower limit. plus 1. The class size for real limits, upper limits minus lower limit. Okay. The next, what are the class intervals here? How many class intervals are there? 3. 1, 2, 3. Right? These are the class intervals, classes. In this case, what are the class intervals? 4 to 0 to 4, 5 to 9, 10 to 14. What's the lower limit of this class? 0. Upper limit? 4. What's the lower limit of this class? 10. Upper limit? 40. Alright, those are the class intervals, right? Now the next one is class frequencies. Frequencies mean how many are included in this class, how many students. For example, there are 3 students who have scored marks between 10 and 40. That means those 3 students have scored either 10, 11, 12, or 13 or 14. Right? The students who have scored these marks are included in this class. How many students are there who scored marks between 10 and 14? 3. Now, how many students have scored marks between 0 and 4? 2. So, these are the frequencies. Alright. So, we did the class intervals and the frequencies. Next one is the class midpoint. Class midpoints. The formula for this, even for row limits and the real limits, is the same. Midpoints equals lower limit plus upper limit divided by 2. It can be either upper limit plus lower limit divided by 2. Both are correct. Now we'll take the same example here. What's our example? 10 to 40. Right? So now what's the, we'll apply the values. Lower limit 10 plus upper limit 40 divided by 2. That is 24 divided by 2, it's 12. That's the answer. Right here, 12. It's here. The midpoint. 12. 10, 12, 14. Midpoint. The formula is you'll have to add these two limits together and divide that by 2. That's the midpoint. So what you have to do now is do the problems I had given to you at the end of your note. There are 6 class intervals. Calculate the class sizes for them first, right? All together, then 6 class sizes, and then calculate the midpoints for them. 6 altogether, 12 answers, and submit them through Edmodo. Okay.